Good morning, everyone. This is Paula White, your instructor for Accounting 233. And today we're going to begin by going over what's expected in week 4, which is your final assessment. And then you have this special career integration quiz that actually has 15 points assigned to it. But let's first go to assessment. We have one person on with us, and he's asking all types of questions on what's expected and everything. So we're going to take care of his needs first, which I was going to. This is your week 4 final assessment. It's not a final exam. You get to do a tax return. So here is the list of information about Peter and Amy, and we will go through this in detail. But your resources, here's Form 1040. Here's your Schedule A. Here's the 1040 instructions, and here's the Schedule A instructions. So pull all 4 of those down. And yes, I know it's 2012, but the forms haven't changed that much, if at all, in the time period between 2004 and 2014. Because right now, being in 2015, we just finished the 2014 tax year. So let's just download this. And download this. Good morning. We're talking about the final assessment and get that anxiety out of the way. So here's your Form 1040. And you're probably wondering, how can you fill it out and submit it and all that? So if you open up the PDF, either we have 3 people, or someone came and went and came and went. Okay. That was interesting. So come on. There we go. So here's the 1040 that you need to work with. And this, you fill it in. My name is Paula. Click last name, White. My fake social security number is 33322, and you had to move it, oh, okay, and 1111. Obviously that's fake. Home address is 123 Main Street. Any town. California, 99999, yeah. So you're just filling the tax form out as you go through. What areas usually get missed is the presidential election campaign. I expect a check mark, one or the other. And if it's not told to you in the assignment itself, just answer it for the client. I'm single. I have exemptions for myself. If I had a kid, I would put the first name, last name, their social security number, relationship to me, and if they're under age 17 and they qualify for child tax credit, check box that. It says I only have myself, boxes checked on 6A and 6B would be 1. If I had myself, my spouse, and 4 dependents, I would put 6 here in this box. And then here's add the numbers on the lines above. So 1 plus number of children who on 6C who lived with you, did not live with you, divorce, etc. So fill out these the best you can. And in my case, it's 1 because that's my total exemptions to be done. And then I think you're given wages. I'm making numbers up here. Taxable interest, tax exempt interest, and you just fill in the boxes. And either we have a lot of people or someone coming in and out. Let's see who we all have. We have Dennis and Shelley and Terry. Hello, hello, and hello. Like before, if you have questions, just unmute yourself and talk. And I'll continue to try to look at the chat box, but that's more efficient just to chime in. I'm going through the final assessment and what you need to do. If you taught grade school, you'd have an educator expense. But let's see, combine the amounts in the far right columns for lines 7 through 21. So in line 22, you're going to add up all these numbers. So in this case, it would be 22,372. So you need to read these to find out where the subtotals are. This will be my total income. And if you had any adjustments to gross income, like health savings account, penalty on early withdrawal and savings, student tax, loan tax interest deductions, if you had any of these, then here you would add those up, line 23 to 35, you add these up, and then in the last line you would say, subtract line 36 from line 22, 0 from 22,000 is 22,000. Then that number is what ends the page, is adjusted gross income, and that same number begins the page. And then you just continue to read and apply. Was I born before 1948? No, I'm not blind. So I'm not going to check any of these, and the total boxes checked is blank or 0. I have no spouse, so I don't have a dual alien. My spouse doesn't itemize on a separate return, and I was not a dual status alien, meaning that I have citizenship in 2 countries. Now, this is where we've been spending a lot of our time. Do we take a standard deduction, or can I take an itemized deduction? So if I take a standard deduction, as a single person, what would I put here in box 40? Hello?
5,950.
Perfect. And so then line 41 is a subtraction. So that's 6,000 from 22,000, which is 16. I'm going to make the math easy for me, okay? You can't. You have to do the actual math. So now we have line 41 is the subtraction. Now the exemptions. How many exemptions did I claim on line 1, on page 1?
Just 1.
Yeah, and you find this here. This is why you're putting your kids' information here. I only have 1. So let's see here. Exemption, so I multiply 3,800 by the number on that line. So that times 1 is 3,800. If you had 5 exemptions to take, you would multiply 3,800 times 5. And you'd be able to take about $16,000 or $17,000 off on this line. So my taxable income at this point is for my status, 12,200 maybe. And that's my taxable income. And then I get to calculate my taxes on that. Do you remember from week, what was that, week 3? Let's see, this is week 4. Last week you calculated income tax. So you take 12,200 and go to your tax tables, which we're going to find in a minute, and find out what the taxes are on $12,200. This line in my past courses has been the most missed line. You have to put taxes in because this is a tax return. It's the reason for calculating your income taxes. So let's say that I went to the tax table, went to single, found the 12,200 number, and the taxes for that is $3,000. I'm making this number up. Don't try and find $3,000 for this situation. Then the next line is alternative minimum tax, which I have none, and I will tell you in a moment what this is. Add lines 44 and 45 together, so $3,000 plus the alternative gets you my total of $3,000 in taxes. I have no foreign tax credit. I have no kids, so therefore I don't have credit for child or dependent care. I'm not going to college at the moment, so I don't have education credits. So I don't have any of these. So my total credits, my tax credits are 0. And then I subtract line 54 from line 46 and get 3,000. Just be patient enough to read these subtractions and addition directions so you don't miss one. And then I am self-employed, but for this example, I'm not. I don't have unreported Social Security. I don't have any of this. So add lines 55 through 60, that's 0. So now my federal income tax, add lines 55 through 60, and you didn't catch me. 55 through 60 is not 0, it's 3,000. Because I had to add line 55 through 60, that's 3,000. And federal income tax withheld from forms W-2, let's say it's 3,300. I didn't have any estimated tax payments. I have no children, and so therefore I don't have earned income tax credit, or I'm not claiming it. I don't have any non-taxable combat pay. I don't have any of this stuff. So I come down to add lines 62, 63, 64A, 65. So I add most of these lines down. And so my total tax payments are $3,300. My refund, it says if line 72 is more than 61, if 3,300 is more than 61, and it is, then the difference is my overpaid amount is 300. That's my refund. Then it always amazes me on this next line. The amount of line 73 you want refunded to you. That sounds like a weird comment or a weird question, but I want all 300 refunded to me. There are situations when you're a business owner that if you get a refund in 1 year, you're just roll it over as a prepayment for the following year. So you don't have to have it that much more in estimated tax payments for the first quarter. But that's beyond the scope here. So now, how do I want this $300 refunded to me? If I don't fill in my bank routing number or account number, checking or savings, if I do not fill that in, then I'll get a check in about 6 weeks. If I do fill this in, I'll get my money either this Friday or next Friday. So it makes a big difference. And then, but if I owed, if this was $4,000, and I only paid in $3,300, then I owe $700, correct? I don't get a refund. Subtract line 72 from 61, and I have $700 due. So you have to go through all of these calculations. So don't forget that when you go through this top part of section of page 2, you come down to taxable income, and then you calculate your taxes, and then you compare it to how much taxes that you paid in, and then you either decide if it's a refund or an amount due. Don't worry about putting in the designated person's signature. You're good with this. Don't worry about putting in the phone. So you don't have to worry about any of this, but let's look at what this is. This is where the client signs the return, or if it's your tax return, this is where you sign it and your spouse signs it. If you are doing this as a professional, remember I keep asking you to consider to be an enrolled agent with the IRS. Your clients sign here, and you get to put your information here and also sign it. You have to type your name. You get to sign, date. Check here if you're self-employed. The PTIN number used to be, and I told you this in one of the lectures, the PTIN number used to be your Social Security number, but right now we have to buy a fake ID number. And I should say that differently. We get to buy a fake ID number. My PTIN number is P000019265. It has nothing to do with any of my personal IDs. However, it identifies me as a professional within the system, but it also protects me by not having to have my name and my Social Security number and my address on every tax return that I prepare. Isn't that a condition of increased potential for identity theft? Yeah. So I'm glad to pay $69 a year to get my fake identification number as a preparer tax identification number. And then you put your firm's name and your firm's address, the company's EIN number, and the company's phone number. So now that's just a 1040. Well, I think I might have more than the standard deduction. So why don't I go back and pull down the second file, which is the 1040 Schedule A. I'm going to open that up. Okay. And this is exactly the Schedule A that we've been working on and having lectures about this entire course. Do I have any medical or dental? And this is where you actually have to slowly and cautiously read what the lines say. So if I have medical of 1,000, enter the amount of Form 1040, line 38. What do you think that line is? Without even looking at it. Anybody? I know I heard you all say in unison, it's adjusted gross income. So 22,372. And I'm going to go back to my Schedule A. Schedule A. And I'm going to put here 22,372. And 7% of that, let's see, 10% would be 2,237. I'm estimating it's going to be $1,900. You actually have to make the calculation. So can I take any, in this example, can I take any deduction for medical? Subtract line 3 from line 1, 1,900 from 1,000. If line 3 is more than line 1, enter 0. Line 3 is more than...
You have to enter 0.
I have to enter 0. Because I don't have enough medical to be greater than the floor that the IRS doesn't allow us to deduct. Okay, and then you go state and local income taxes. You're given that you had state tax withholdings of a certain amount, but what happens if you work for a state in a state that doesn't have state income taxes? There are states that have no state income tax. Texas, I believe Florida, I believe Alaska, and I know Washington State. What else? Do you know any other state that has no state tax?
Nevada.
Nevada, yes. So for those tax clients, that would have to be 0 here. So instead of not giving them anything, they allowed them to take general sales tax, which is a calculation, a different type of calculation, or you have to gather up all your sales tax that you pay throughout the year, and you put an amount here. So either way, it's either income taxes from your state or local government, or your general sales tax. Do I own a house? Do I have real estate taxes? Well, let's say I do, and it's $7,000. Personal property taxes. My car tags in California are based on a value of my car times a rate. So that is a personal property tax because it's based on a rate times a value. So I don't know what my taxes are. I think it's $200. However, if you live in Illinois or some other state, I know in Illinois, the tags on your car, if you have a car, your price for your car tags will be $78. Regardless, it's a head tax. It's not a property tax. If you have one car, you get to pay one $78 amount. If you have 5 cars, you get to pay 5 $78 amounts, regardless of if they're a $1,000 vehicle or a $28,000 vehicle. It's a head tax the way they have it written. And if it's a head tax in Illinois, you cannot take your tags off of as property taxes because it's not written as a property tax. Continuing, since I have a real estate, I probably have home mortgage interest and points. Let's say I have that as $5,000. I don't do that, so I have here, I have to have my subtotals or that doesn't work. 7,000 plus 200 because we add lines 5 through 8. 5 through 8. So I get to put 7,200 here. Here it says add lines 10 through 14. That's 5,000. So you have to do this. Gifts to charity. I like to be somewhat charitable, so let's say that's $2,000, and I qualified them all. So that's $2,000. Casualty and theft losses. Thankfully, this year I had no casualty losses, and I had no one steal from me. I do not have any unreimbursed business expenses, but I do have a safety deposit box. I think it's $50 a year. And my tax prep fees, I'm doing it in front of you, but let's say the tax prep fees is $150. So now I have as line 21 through 23. So that's $200. Enter the amount from line 1040, line 38. What do you think that represents? I think I lost my audience.
It's the AGI, isn't it?
It's the AGI. It's the, yeah, so here's 22,372. So this is 22,372. 2% of 22,372 is 500 minus 400, 494, 496. So 2% of AGI is $496. Do I have enough other expenses to be able to take anything?
No.
So I had to put a 0 there. And other miscellaneous deductions, I have none. So line 29, add the numbers in the far right columns for lines 4 through 28. That's why those subtotals were important. Also enter this amount on line 40, line 40. And I do not have the condition that I'm making over 150,000 because my AGI is 12,000. Okay, so in this example, I have 7,200 plus 7,000. That's 14,200. Okay, so 14,200 is the total. Now I'm going to go over to.
Now, wouldn't you have to have another form because on your charity is $2,000, but it's over the $500, right? So you'd have to use the other form?
I'd have to add another form. It's not using another form. You have to add another form to your tax return. You still get to put the $2,000 here, but you have to justify it with another form attached to your tax return.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just from your example, you didn't, mention about having to add another
Right. Okay.
form because it was over the $500.
Right. It's over the $500. Well, if it's by cash or check, if you made any gift of $250 or more, you have to see the instructions. But I could have written one check for $2,000, or I could have written 20 checks for $100. So it depends on the facts of the matter. But the $500 is for other than cash or check. So if you contribute more than $250 or $500 to Salvation Army, the Humane Society, if you clean out your garage and take a whole bunch of stuff to Salvation Army, that would be a non-cash donation, which is on line 17, and that is the $500 issue.
Oh, okay.
This is I wrote a check to the church for $2,000.
Okay.
Or I wrote a check for the Humane Society and Salvation Army and the church, each for 500 plus another one for 500. So the line 16 is for checks. I suggest if you do this, you write a check, not give cash. And on line 17, this is when you clear out your house or your apartment, and you don't need that television anymore. You don't need those tools, whatever the situation is, or those flannel shirts are still in pretty good shape. So go ahead and contribute those to someone in need. Then those are line 17 charitable contributions, other than by cash or check. Good question. You caught me there. So itemized deductions is $14,002. So let's go back to the tax return. And will it benefit us to itemize? Which is greater, 14,200 itemized or my standard of 5,950?
You're itemized.
Certainly. So, of course, I was to take 14,200.
200.
So 14,200 from here. Oh my goodness, that gets me less than 8,000, doesn't it? I'm gonna make it easy. It's gonna be 8,000. 22 minus 14 is 8,000. I'm making my math easy. So 8,000 minus 3,800 will get me $4,200 in taxable income. So tax on $4,200 would be more in the $500 range. So it makes a huge impact to clients. Add lines 44 through and 45. So this is $500 taxes. So here my taxes are 500. This is 500. So I still paid into my W-2 $3,300 as withholdings. So 500 is my tax liability. I paid in 3,300. So I'm going to have a nice refund. 500, 3,300 of $2,800. And I don't want to wait 6 weeks for that. So I want all $2,800 refunded to me. And I'm going to put in my routing number. And it's my checking number. And my checking account number is, of course, a fake number too. And then I sign. So I'm a happy camper because I'm getting $2,800 in refunds. So what I would suggest doing is to go down through, kind of like what I did. Assume first a standard deduction and understand the form when you work this enough to complete it. And I saw so many people last course take their taxable income, put zeros everywhere else, and then they refunded to themselves their entire taxable income. Obviously, that's wrong, correct?
Yes.
You can't have taxable income and then have the government pay you that whole taxable income. They only give you refunds on taxes that you overpaid, not your income. So fill out the entire form first as it is.
How would they even come to that conclusion?
What?
How would your other class even come to the conclusion that you get the full refund, the full thing that you paid in back?
Well, that assumes they were thinking. I think they were freaked out because it was a tax return and they just blanked out. So I'm just trying to make sure that you take the anxiety off of this process and just look at it section by section. because section by section, it tells you the math to do. Subtract line 54 from line 46. If 54 is more than 46, enter 0. It tells you programmatically what to do and how to do it. But sometimes people, when they look at a tax return, they're deer in headlights. And that's what happened. I had several doing the same thing. So, of course, it didn't make sense. And every time I saw it, I cringed. But they freaked out. They did the first page fine, and they did the Schedule A fine, but they didn't complete the bottom of the tax return. They freaked out.
Oh, through.
So I'm sure, I won't say I'm sure you did, but I'm sure I have in my history as a student just blanked out on a test or on an exercise and totally blew it. That's what they were doing. I just don't want that to happen to you all, because that would make me sad. So what do you do with this file now? You've filled it out. It's kind of easy. You can go File, Save As, and you can save it as ACC233 Final, Schedule A. You can save it as something that makes sense to you and keep working on it until you're finished, and then that file would be able to be submitted with the 1040 file to your grade book. So that's the how, and that's the how we do that. Let me show you two of the things that you have available. You know, this whole course I've been harping about publication 17, but here you can also download, given to you in the assignment, the 1040 instructions. Oops, my computer went away. Here you can download the 1040 instructions and the Schedule A instructions. So if you need to have a little more guidance as to what you do with that one line, you can go to the instructions and actually read a small little paragraph as to what the IRS says to do with medical expenses. When you multiply the total by 7.5%, you can get it spoken to you in a little paragraph in the instructions. And let's see, I'll pull up scheduling.
Did we do the Schedule A first and then put the information into the 1040?
Well, you can only do most of the schedule. What I would do is do page 1 of the 1040 first. That gives you your AGI. Then I would go and do Schedule A, because now you can complete it because you have the AGI. Once you're complete, then you can do page 2 of the 1040.
Okay, so split it and put it in the middle. Okay.
Yeah, because if you don't, you can't finish the Schedule A because you have 2 sections there that depends on your AGI. Right?
Yes.
Medical being limited and your miscellaneous deductions being limited. So this is what the instructions look like. So you just kind of go down to medical and dental, and it tells you in English what medical and dental expenses you can include. And it talks to you in English. Any person claimed as a dependent. Example, you claimed over half of your mother's support but cannot claim her as a dependent. It's in English, and it kind of tells you, gives you advice and gives you confidence. So the school has provided this 2012 instructions for Schedule A, as well as the 2012 instructions for the 1040. So good for that, right? So now what does the problem actually talk about? It is 165 points, And you know, if you go into it with a good attitude that you can do it, it's not that bad. Following is a list of information for Peter and Amy Jones. Gee, could their name be Peter Jones and Amy Jones? That's the first line of the tax return. Peter and Amy are married. So what do you think their filing status would be?
Married, filing together.
Filing joint.
Yeah,
Joint.
exactly. Married, filing joint. And they have 3 children, Aubryn, Bryson, and Caden. And I'm just going to go ahead a little bit. Their social security numbers and age. Here's Peter and Amy, husband and wife. And here's Aubryn. This is her social security number, and she's 5 years old. Bryson, social security number, he's 3 years old. And there's Caden, he's 1 year old, and there his social security number is. So do you have enough information to fill in the social security number for the husband and wife, as well as the dependent section for the 3 children? I think you do, because you do know that they're daughters and sons. Let's go back on the 2 lines I missed. They live at 1846 Joplin Way, Lakeville, Minnesota, and the zip code. So you can fill in that top section of the 1040 that simply. At the bottom, it asks for people's occupation, where they sign it. I'll show you. Oops. Where they sign. Down here on the 1040, signature date, your occupation, signature date, spouse's occupation. So that's where you would put that Peter is the lawyer and Amy works in a genetics lab research. You could say scientist, you could say office. You can do whatever's appropriate there. And here's all their social security numbers. So that's all that top section. Now you're given some data. Peter made $70,000. Amy's salary was $32,000. Federal taxes of $10,500. That was what was withheld from their W-2. Not what is calculated through their tax return, because it hasn't been done yet. Items they want you to consider for their itemized deductions. They had eyeglasses and eye exams for Auburn, $600. Orthodontic work for Bryson, because he has a congenital defect, $2,500. They have medical insurance premiums, and for the state tax they withheld in their W-2, they withheld $7,200. They have property taxes on their home. They have interest, mortgage interest on their home. So does that sound very familiar to what we just went through with the Schedule A?
Yes.
Yeah. So federal taxes would be at the close to the middle part or bottom on page 2, because that's how much taxes they withheld. Medical. This would be that state tax or sales tax, either or, of $7,200. Property taxes on home, mortgage interest on home. So there's not a lot of things here to be twisted up about. It's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions?
Yes, kind of not on. I mean, it's about the interest.
Okay.
On the, home. How would that realistically work if somebody went and bought the home outright? You wouldn't have interest.
Yeah.
that's for the mortgage, right?
It's only for the mortgage,
So
yes.
if you don't have a mortgage, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Exactly. So if you bought if you were lucky enough to have enough money accumulated to buy your home outright, then all you would have is property taxes.
Okay.
Because interest on the home would be what you had to pay the mortgage company in interest.
Okay.
Good question. Any other questions?
No.
No? Are you all good? Who's all my star pupils here? We have Shelley and Dennis and Terry. Yeah. You know, I really appreciate your participation, each of you, in the discussion forums
Thank you.
and in this class. You made it. It could be a really dry, distant discussion, but it wasn't. Maybe because I added marijuana and illegal issues in there, but it was kind of fun to do that. So thank you for making this a fun class on my side too. So did everyone enjoy the class? Was there something that I could have done differently? Because I'm going to be redoing the class in about a month or so.
I wouldn't mind seeing some like a PowerPoint or something going over each topic.
I agree there.
Okay.
It was a bit confusing at first, and it took a little while for me to comprehend everything. A PowerPoint, I think, would really do the trick.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I use the PowerPoint a lot on the assessments. So
Oh,
Yeah, so do I.
Okay. Because I thought so you do have access to the PowerPoints.
yes.
Yeah. To go over the PowerPoints, personally, I didn't like the PowerPoints because I didn't like the way they were designed. So, yeah, so I'll pull together some PowerPoint for the future that I can actually work with to explain. I use PowerPoints, but I use them for more visual effects instead of explanation. And then I went over your homework problems with you. So anything else? Any other comments?
Did they have a Form 1040 in the, I couldn't find I found the Schedule A for the itemized deductions, but I couldn't find a 1040 form. Because I like filling out, doing the problems, I like filling out the actual form.
Okay. Do you see the screen right now?
Yes.
This first one is your 1040.
Okay, well, that's for the final assignment.
Oh, you mean through the
Through the whole course.
Okay, yes, that's a good point. I will make sure that happens. Yes, good point. Thank you. And that gets you making it practical and using the form itself. What I want the students to do in this next iteration of the course is to, instead of doing homework on Excel or Word documents, actually fill out the form or that section of the form.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
that way,
awesome.
and
Yeah,
that
that would
way,
be good.
yeah,
That really would work.
yeah, because that's what I want to do with it. I wasn't happy with this the way. Well, it was good when they first did it, but things change, and I think that would be hands-on would be great and more effective than not. Some folks had issues on what is AGI. Well, AGI makes more sense if you can see it on the bottom of page 1 of the 1040. Because obviously it's income minus these deductions is AGI. And you keep seeing it and keep seeing it and keep seeing it. Even if you don't logically understand it, you know that is the last line on the first page. And after a while, you absorb it and you just become it. So Good. Well, these are great comments. Thank you. I do want to make sure that you know that there's something new for this course, for all courses this mod, and you have a assessment. Let me get to it. Let's see. Courses.
You're talking about the 3-question one.
Yeah, the 3 questions at the end.
Yeah, let's see. Where is it? Let's go home.
Yeah, the career integration.
Yeah, the career integration one. And that's in every course now. Oh, come on. Where is it? There we go. Okay, career integration. Click. And they tell you all the stuff, but I think it's 3 questions, isn't it? What did you find of most value from the readings, including the videos in this course, and why? What did you find out most value from the instructor lectures on this course, and why? And what did you find most value from the assignments in this course, and why? And they have a 50-word or more per question. So they do want you to reflect on this, but they don't want you to be flippant with it. Like shallow or negative, like, please don't say this to me. That wouldn't be nice. I know you're all nice folks. Because it's for your thought and integration, and a lot of times when you reflect back, if it's not a great example and you find that you grew through it, then you grew through it too. So don't throw these 15 points away. It's not like the discussion question of, now reflect, how did you like the course? This is a 15-point assignment, so don't throw that away, because that can make an impact, especially if you're on the edge of one grade to the next grade. So, unless you have other questions, congratulations. This is the end of Accounting 233.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good life. Keep in touch, okay? You know my information. Keep in touch. I'd like to know what you're doing when you graduate.
And thank you for everything.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad to have had you in my class, and you all made it better than it could have been. So
I'm just sorry my work prevented me from making the other live chats.
oh my. Well, you came to 2, didn't you? You came to the first one and the last one?
I think so.
Yeah. So you came at the start and you came at the end. So you came to both parties. Okay, so take care, and good luck on the assessment. I think you're going to be strong on it with today's survey of the homework. Okay, well, I'll take this off of recording, and